Once in a while on this channel, I cover an original toy of mine. I don't do it often because most of you are here for the classics like Lionel Trains and Mr. Potato Head. But after 30 years on the market and 1.25 million copies sold, this game is a classic in its own right. This is the BLURT edition of Where's the Fun From? In the spring of 1991, I was in a third grade classroom at Goscio Elementary School in Sarasota, Florida, surrounded by some very annoyed 8-year-olds. My girlfriend was a teacher, and she asked me to come into her classroom and read to some kids at the end of the school year. I was failing miserably at this job. Every book I took off the shelf elicited eye rolls and groans. To this day, I don't know why I did it, but I grabbed this children's dictionary off the shelf and I was going to quiz them. But instead of asking them the words, I read the definition. So on the first few pages, I read the nut of an oak tree. And this kid said, oak nut. And I laughed and said, no, it's an acorn, but that's pretty funny. I turned to the B section and said, okay, what's the word for to shut and open the eyes quickly? Wink, this girl blurted out. I said, no, but close. One eye is wink, two eyes is blink. Read another one, she said. And all the kids scooted forward, eyes wide, literally on the edge of their seat. What sorcery was this? Just seconds earlier, they wanted nothing to do with me. They went from frustrated and fidgety to attentive and engaged. And that was the day I discovered the power of play. I went home and over the course of a week or so made this prototype. I called the game DeFUNitions. The definitions were typed, printed out, hand-cut, and glued to game cards. There was a lot of X-Acto blading and gluing of colored paper and cardboard. The finished prototype wasn't much to look at, but it play-tested well. Kids learned new words while they took turns reading definitions aloud to the other players who raced to see who could blurt the right word first. There was no penalty for wrong guesses and everyone played on every turn. But the play testing wasn't all positive. My teacher girlfriend asked, are you sure you want to use a misspelled word as the title to a word game? She had a good point. The fun of the game wasn't in the definitions, but in what players yelled out trying to be first. So I wrote down synonyms for yell, like scream, shout, utter, outburst, blurt. Now, outburst was a popular game at the time, and I always thought that word was a little negative. An outburst? Not a good thing. But when you blurted, that was often embarrassingly funny. But surely a game company had to have already owned the trademark for blurt. It's such a funny word. The name was so good that I was sure the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office made a mistake when they granted me the trademark. I scrapped definitions and the first version of BLURT was born. I cringe at the clown-like appearance of this original prototype. Apparently, I was into all of the colors. So, great game, great name, instant fame, right? Nope. I tried for 3 years to get BLURT picked up by a publisher, but it was rejected by virtually everyone at the time. Finally, in 1994, BLURT found a home at a tiny printing company in Beloit, Wisconsin called Product Sales International. The company had launched Tri-Bond the year before, a game I'd created with 2 college buddies. I went to work for the company just to sell Tri-Bond, but when that game sold well, Bryce Patch, the co-owner of PSI, asked me if I had any other game ideas. And in 1994, we launched BLURT. It was no surprise that teachers loved BLURT, engages kids, improves vocabulary and listening skills, but early in BLURT's trajectory, it was clear that adults were playing this game too, as a party game. I promoted the game in stores, played it in classrooms, and went on radio and TV shows. I even got on some national shows like Home and Family.
Either of the 2 openings of the nose.
No,
Okay. The nut of an oak tree.
Walnut.
Acorn.
Acorn. The time of evening just before darkness. Dusk. Michael.
Right, it's just a matter of listening and assimilating the question.
A rod or bar that forms the step on a ladder.
Rung.
Okay, here you go. One of the floors on a boat or ship.
Deck. He did it. Hey, Tim Walsh. Got the game BLURT. Soon to be seen on television, hosted by me.
Meanwhile, this thing called the World Wide Web was coming into its own in the mid-90s, and fans of the game went online and filmed themselves playing it.
It's great.
Someone who is trained to fly in a spacecraft.
Pilot. Astronaut.
It's astronaut. Power of the pail.
Yes.
The reviews were in, and then BLURT got into Toys R Us, then Walmart, then Kmart, then finally Target. And when a company called RP Toys got the game into mass market stores in Canada, they put it in the center of some very good company. More TV shows and newspapers picked up the story of the little game going up against the giants. In 1997, we partnered with the reigning Miss America, Tara Holland, and donated 50 cents for every BLURT game sold to Literacy Volunteers of America and WGN's Neediest Kids Fund. By this time, PSI had changed its name to Patch Products and had a showroom in the legendary 205th Avenue Toy Center, where we displayed BLURT every toy fair. We introduced a number of TV ads for the game over the years, and although none of them ever aired, they sure were fun to make.
For fast-paced action, nothing beats BLURT. It's a rapid-fire race for the right word. BLURT, the game that makes fast fun.
At the height of BLURT's popularity, it showed up on the set of TV shows like Mad About You and even in Phoebe's apartment on Friends. By 1999, we had sold over 1 million copies of BLURT, and everyone at Patch played a part in the game's success. In 1999, Mattel purchased the licensing rights to the game from Patch, and BLURT was now at the home of Barbie and the largest toy company in the world. Here's CEO Bob Eckert playing the game, and here's a never-before-seen look at the parallelogram packaging Mattel designed. Mattel had the rights to BLURT for 3 years and never produced the game, and when the rights reverted back to me, there was a very short list of companies that I felt confident to bring BLURT back. Enter Educational Insights. Lisa Julie and her team got the game from the get-go. After months of reworking it for a new audience, we relaunched BLURT at Toy Fair in New York. Then EI sent me on a BLURT tour. I met with many store owners who missed the game and were thrilled to have it back on their shelves. It was one of the highlights of my career, meeting so many BLURT fans and turning a store into a game show set.
12 o'clock
Midnight.
in the day.
Noon.
Noon, yes. A small bag that is sewn into clothing.
Pocket.
Pocket. Very good. A cloth case stuffed with soft material.
Pillow.
A woman who rules a kingdom.
Queen.
The hard outer surface of a loaf of bread.
Crust.
Crust. Brian Urlacher got it. A series of images or thoughts that you have during sleep.
Dream. Can we do another one?
A round ball with a map of the world on it.
Globe. That's fine.
A cloth covering for the foot.
Sock.
A chair
Rocking chair.
used by a king or queen.
Throne.
A long pointed tooth of an elephant, walrus.
A tusk.
An area in the desert where water is found. A person who cooks and sells bread.
Bigger.
Yes. A dishonest person.
Cindy.
Someone who cuts and sells meat.
A butcher.
A small figure of a person that fits over your hand.
Puppet. Yes!
I'm like blank.
In 2018, Lisa Julie informed me that BLURT was about to become a kids' meal prize at Chick-fil-A restaurants across the country.
I would love a BLURT game, please. Educational insights. What?
It was a fantastic full circle moment to drive through a Chick-fil-A in my hometown, just minutes from the elementary school where BLURT was born. Over the years, I wrote content for new versions of the game, including a 25th anniversary, sports, and travel edition, and a very cool national parks edition, which came out just a few years ago. I am so grateful to still get email from fans who love the game, and I love the fact that the game helps them connect to people they love. We heard from a games cafe in Nigeria, radio stations still play it, and just last year we struck a deal with University Games to take BLURT to the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. To celebrate BLURT's 30th anniversary this year, I went on some great podcasts and even played the game on TikTok. Old dog, new tricks. If you've ever played BLURT and have a story to tell about it, I would love to read it in the comments below. I'll include a link where you can buy a 30th anniversary edition to support this channel. I am so grateful to everyone who had a hand in the success of BLURT. Oh, and that teacher who asked me to come read to her class, she's been my wife for close to 30 years too. I owe it all to her and those bored third graders for the moment BLURT was born and play saved the day.